You see a lot of designers, they go on Instagram and they make the reels, putting the product in the pouch, putting the pouch in the box. They love to show that they could do everything. But actually, I was that person 2 years ago, and I was so tired. I would go to bed at 1:30 in the morning, wake up at 3:30 in the morning just to be able to fulfill the orders. Thought I was going to have a mental breakdown. I have a vision and I want to achieve that vision, but I need help. And sometimes I think people are afraid to say that.
Thank you for joining us today. Today, who I have with us is Nicole McIntosh.
Yeah.
And she is the owner and the designer of NIKKIBIEDES.
Yeah.
We are here in Barbados in her store called Coco
de Mer. Yes.
And so the reason why I am interviewing her today is because she's got this wonderful collection of jewelry, really inspired by nature, the water, pearls, a lot of mother of pearl. And on my explorations here in Barbados, I just thought it was so interesting that I just had to meet her in person.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here today.
And thank you for loving our pieces.
Yes, yes. So my first question is just, tell me your story from living on Barbados and being a jewelry designer. To me, that feels very exotic.
It is.
And
yeah,
so just give me a little inside scoop on your life as a jewelry designer here.
Yeah. So I moved to Barbados just over 5 years ago, and absolutely fell in love with the island, fell in love with my husband on this island. This is where we met. So living here has actually, I always say to people, like, Barbados is an island where your dreams could actually come true. So, I started off the business organically, and I think I just got very lucky. A lot of people love it, and there's so many beautiful parts of Barbados that there's always something to inspire you towards a new collection as well. Yeah.
I completely agree with that. So
Yeah.
in my past career, I also was a designer, and
Okay.
I made a lot of jewelry that was inspired by water and nature. So I totally get that, especially visiting the island here. It's very inspiring, I think, for anybody who's an artist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful. So what is something that somebody would be really surprised to know about you? I know that's a tough question.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It might be embarrassing, so I'll not do that one. But but I think a lot of people may not have known that I was actually a super tomboy. I was very athletic. I represented the OACS for squash.
Oh.
So I was their junior champ. I did a few tournaments around, but I was really tomboyish. So to be in fashion right now and to love design, I think some of my friends who have known me since I was younger, they're all very blown away. Even my mom, she's like, how the hell did you learn how to do this, But it's just something that I guess was inside of me all along. And, being in Barbados as well has also allowed me to dream and to allow me to envision, how I would want to feel in jewelry. So that's helped me a lot.
Well, I mean, I love that because it just shows you're multifaceted.
I guess.
There's many different versions or many different views of Nikki, and I think that that's just wonderful.
Yeah.
I know that we were just discussing May Wayne, who is one of somebody that has inspired you in your professional life.
Yeah.
And I would just like to know a little bit about how you met her, what is the connection, and how did she help you in the jewelry/fashion world?
Yeah. So when I was 17, I took part in the Miss St. Lucia World pageant. So of course the winner would have gone on to Miss World. And again, very out of character for me to do it, but my mom forced me. So that is actually how I met May. And then right after that, I didn't win. I was second runner up. But it made me realize that I'm actually not shy, and I actually didn't mind public speaking, and I didn't mind speaking to people and interacting and making new friends. And after the pageant, I needed a job. And I remember approaching May. She owned a publication company called The Star Publishing. And she had a fashion magazine called She Caribbean, which was the Caribbean's biggest fashion magazine to date. And I started working with her, and I was just always in awe by how someone so tiny could get everybody in a room to just like focus and pay attention and move mountains and create a magazine, like from start to finish, create a magazine that young girls like myself would just like lock yourself up in the room and just read through it all day long, and cut out photos and make a pit, like a inspo board, and or a vision board. And that's how I met her. She was very hard on me, but I think she was also hard on me because she probably saw something in me that I didn't see myself. So she gave me a lot of tough love, but she was always someone that I was like, when I get older, I want to be just like me. I want to be able to mentor, inspire, and pull people together to create something that could put the Caribbean on the map. Yeah.
And we were just speaking that you just recently ran into May in Miami. So tell me that story.
So I got an opportunity to take part in the Miami Swim Show as a vendor, which was my first expo that I've ever done. So I had no idea what to expect. I also I also took part in the Cabana show too. So it was incredible. It was all at the same place. And that day, we just had a lot of people coming in and placing orders. And then I just heard somebody say, "Nikki!" And I knew it was her voice. So when I was like, that voice sounds familiar. When I turned back, it was me. And she literally ran down the aisle to meet me. And it was a proud moment because she also did fire me from that job, which I kind of guess I deserved to. I was slacking. And, when she saw me, she just said, "Nikki, I'm so proud of you. You are a success story." And she said, "I always knew there was something more in you." So it was a really good feeling because, I'm a small island girl. I'm in the States I'm competing with a lot of international brands. And there she is, somebody who inspired me. So it was a beautiful moment, actually.
That's
at
wonderful.
least for me. Yeah.
So my question, this was your first international show in Miami or in the States?
This was my first show out, exposing the brand outside of the Caribbean. I've never even done a show like that in the Caribbean. So it was really big for me. I had no clue what to expect. But I met so many amazing people, so many different brands. And these are brands that I look up to, like Linda Farrow and Alame, and the list goes on. All these massive brands, and I'm right next to them. For me, it was like a dream come true.
What did you do to prepare in advance of the show?
So it was a lot. I have a small team, and my team, they're amazing. They're all young. My team is actually, they're all under 25. But they work night and day with me. We had to make a lot of jewelry because, of course, I want everybody to see everything we have to offer. So we ended up taking up probably over 1,000 pieces to display. So it was a lot of production. We also did a lot of marketing, pre-marketing as well, because of course, no one knows who we are. So we want them to know that, hey, NIKKIBIEDES is who we are, and we're coming on. So luckily for me, I would say that the production side was more, it was really the tedious part because I had so much brand assets. Doing my marketing was pretty easy. That was the easiest part for me. Yeah.
I think that's very true of a lot of different companies. If you have your brand assets already set up, it's much easier than to do the marketing.
Yeah.
Because you already have that basis
Exactly.
to work with.
Exactly,
And
yeah.
you're not struggling to figure out how am I going to market and what am I going to market. And so that makes complete sense.
Yeah, and you know what I do love is that all my brand assets were, I was the only person who was not from Barbados involved, you know? All the talent was from Barbados, and that was really important for me as well, because I'm not just displaying Nikki beads. I know I'm not from Barbados, but this is really this is my home now. And I wasn't just, you know, representing me, but I was representing the island that I live on. So it was an amazing experience, yeah.
Well, that's one of the things that I really love about your brand is that it really makes me think of Barbados, and it gives me that warm feeling. And so I think that that's really comes through in your jewelry, and that's one thing that I really like about it. Is that it really says who you are, living as an island girl, and so I think that that's something that you really need to continue doing. I think you're doing a wonderful job of that.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see here. What else do we have here? Oh, so one of my questions I had was, you know, living on Barbados and selling here, how have you dived into selling internationally? And if you have done so, how did you go about doing that?
Yeah. So I think for me, when I started the brand, I actually started it in St. Lucia. And I had my first location that I ever retailed in was in Barbados, at a store called Sugar Apple. And actually the owner of that store is my business partner. So we both own this boutique together. She really gave me the first opportunity. And things were pretty slow. No one knew me, but they loved the brand. So I realized that I guess sometimes where designers go wrong is that they think it's about them. People will love your story, but people want to connect more. They want the jewelry.
Right.
And then eventually you could connect the two, right? So when I had that opportunity, we were talking about a managing director, the late Mark Ozawa, he's passed on now, but his wife was very into pulling local designers in to retail at a gift store at the hotel. And they asked me if I would like to do it. And I had a vision for the brand, and I kept saying, no, I don't want to do it. And, he sat me down, he says, Nikki, you're missing out on a lot. You need to come in and do it. And when I did, I realized, oh, wow, this is something that could really turn into a business. So I always knew I wanted to get multiple locations. So moving to Barbados, I tried to focus more on building the brand. And I also got another opportunity with a company in St. Lucia who I also worked with called Harry Edwards Jewelers. And they retail my brand. It's a massive store, and they retail brands like David Yurman, John Hardy, Chopard. They sell Rolex, Cartier. So for me to be in a store like that at the time was a massive thing for me. And I guess just organically, I've been trying to build a brand, and especially with the show in Miami now the brand could be found at 6 different locations within America, which is not a lot, but it's a big start for me, as this is still fresh, yeah.
So what 6 locations or areas are you focusing on in the States?
So right now I got a location, 4 of my locations, actually 5 of them are based in Miami. And 1 of them is going to be in Hawaii.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so, that's kind of where it's starting, and we still make contact with a lot of people. So that's just the people we've pulled a solid, contract with for now. But who knows, maybe it will grow more than that. I don't know, we'll see.
To me, it makes sense. Your jewelry is just so natural and organic, and it makes sense to be selling it in a place like Miami or Hawaii.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. Oh, so now I want to talk a little bit about designing. So what is your design process? How do you come up with your inspiration for your new pieces or your new collections? How do you go about that?
So it's really funny because I can't draw, but I dream. It sounds weird, but I literally dream of the pieces that I would love to have. And I could sit down and it's weird, but I lay in my bed and I close my eyes and I make it mentally. I make the piece mentally. And then when I've done it over and over again, then I go to my table. I go to my table in my studio and then I will try to bring that piece to life. But I always try to think of, how do I want to feel? How would another woman want to feel if they were on a yacht, or if they were going to dinner, or if they want to have lunch? I always think of, how would a woman want to feel? What would they want to wear? How would they want to accessorize? Would they want to be fun but still classy with it? Do they want to have a long strand of pearls? We do those. So it's really weird because I guess I'm not like a typical designer.
Well, that's interesting that you say that, because I have talked with many designers who the first thing they say is, I don't know how to draw. But I don't think that knowing how to draw doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a good designer or a bad designer.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've heard multiple times.
Okay.
What I think is interesting is that that you dream about the pieces and then sit at your bench and start creating them.
Yeah.
And also that you're thinking about it from the view of the customer or the consumer.
Absolutely.
Because that is like key. You have to, be able to know what your customer is going to want to purchase.
Absolutely. And there's something for everybody. So, like a lot of my last collection, the Grenadines, it's the mother pearls, but it's also enhanced with freshwater pearls and keshi pearls. So, it's a bit of fun, but still a touch of class with it too. And I want that. I want when women wear my pieces, they feel powerful, they feel beautiful, they feel elegant and chic, and I want them. Like the product is not, it's affordable luxury. But I do want people to wish, oh wow, I want this piece. This is the piece I need to have, and this is the next piece I need, and that's how most of my clients feel right now. So I've been pretty lucky.
Well, that completely makes sense. So you snag a customer with their first piece, and you just want them to keep on coming back.
Yeah.
To me, it's like leaving little Hershey's Kisses along a path.
It's very addictive.
Right?
Yeah. The brand is very, most of my clients would have more than 10 or 20 pieces of mine.
Well, and the other thing that I really like about your collections is that there's many pieces that can be mixed and matched.
Yeah.
So because a lot of it is mother of pearl and different types of pearls, you can mix them and it still works together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing. It doesn't matter which collection it's from, they all blend in if you layer or stack.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, El Hill here. Do you want to learn how to get on the phone with any buyer that you want to work with without an introduction or a referral? Click to get them downloadable that we've made for you that you can start using right away and will be really useful for your business and growing your revenue.
So I know that you've been featured in multiple magazines. My question for you today, and for our audience, for them to understand how you do it, is what is your social media strategy or your marketing strategy? And it might be something very organic because everybody's on social media today, or it might be something that's really planned out. I don't think either way is a good or a bad. It's just how you do it.
So I am horrible with social media. I really am. But I have, as I said, I have a really good team. There are things that I'm not strong in, so I'll hire somebody who could do it for me. And actually, our social media manager, her name is Nikki. She's like a little sister, but she's really amazing with it. And she has been coming up with most of the strategies. I just leave it to her. She just sends it to me, I approve it, and I'm like, okay, we'll go with that. It looks good. But really and truly, like getting into the magazines, that was very organic. I would say about 2.5 years ago, and I think a lot of designers go through that. I think people in general go through it where they're like, oh my God, am I doing the right thing? Is this really going to make money? So what happened is that I was just having that moment. Actually, that week I was having a moment, and then I'm not sure if you know that show, My Next Guest Is, by David Letterman. And he was interviewing Lewis Hamilton, who also has Grenadian heritage. Now, my dad's from Grenada, and I grew up in Grenada. So listening to his story, it was very relatable. And I remember even like crying through it, right? And then I thought, oh my God, I just need to keep focused. I need to keep pushing. And I was about to close my laptop, and then I heard, like, an email came through. So I opened the email, and they're like, oh, hi, Nikki. We've just gone through we just found your page, and we absolutely love it. We'd love for you to be part of we'd love to feature you. And I was like, feature? I was like, okay. And then I saw Tatler magazine. And I was like, I was like, no. I closed it. I was like, this has to be a hoax. So then I went on LinkedIn to find the person who was on it. And it turned out that she worked for Condé Nast. So, I was pretty excited about that. Went through, it wasn't free, it was like an advertorial, but I decided, this is an amazing opportunity. They reached out to me, and this could really help people from anywhere around the world learn about the brand. So I decided to go ahead and do it, and then I realized that the brand was so strong that even with the other brands that they had on that same page, Nikki Beads was still able to hold its own.
So what is the biggest challenge you're facing in your role as a business owner, a jewelry designer, owning the store right now?
What's my biggest, repeat that, what's my biggest?
What's your biggest challenge?
Finding alone time. Because when I am alone, it sounds weird. Everything else, like I enjoy running the business. It's a lot of work. People think it's glamorous, but it's not. A lot of the things that you do behind the scenes is quite tiring. But I would say, like, I think more when I'm alone. So that's when I'm alone, it's when I get to dream, when I get to envision things. And so I would say sometimes my creativity process is actually it's much lower than it used to be. So I have to find that balance.
Right.
So sometimes, like, my team, as I said, they're so amazing. Sometimes they'll say to me, just don't come in. Don't come in, like, do something for yourself. But I am very hands-on. So I'm a perfectionist, so I like to be at work all the time. So
it's just trying to find that right balance.
That
of having
work-life balance, yeah.
Enough time to be able to create, right? And then also being able to do the things that you have to do every day.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because as the business grows, yes, you have a lot to, you have the production side, but you also have the admin side. So you're always stuck behind the computer. You're always trying to get certain things done. So I think eventually I'm going to have to get in somebody specifically for administration. But yeah, I would say that's the biggest thing for me.
Well, and what that tells me is that you really have a business mind, because if you're already thinking in the future and what other types of positions that you're going to need to hire for, you can't do it all yourself. And I think, with some designers, the problem is they think they can do it all themselves.
Yeah.
And that's where you really can just hurt yourself by not recognizing that you really do need specialists to help you in very special fields that maybe it's something that you don't know 100% about, or it's not really what you're the best at doing, or it might not also be something that you really want to do.
Yeah, the thing is like a lot of people, so you see on Etsy, and you see a lot of designers, they go on Instagram and they make the reels showing themselves packaging and putting the product in the pouch, putting the pouch in the box, putting the labels on. Like they love to show that they could do everything. But actually I was that person 2 years ago. And I was so tired. I was exhausted. I would go to bed at 1:30 in the morning, wake up at 3:30 in the morning just to be able to fulfill the orders. And that went on for a long time, to a point where I thought I was going to have a mental breakdown. So I had to, I was just like, is the money even worth it? I wanted the brand to grow. I have a vision, and I want to achieve that vision. But I need help. And sometimes I think people are afraid to say that.
And it's
Yeah.
also growing pains. You know,
Yeah.
as your business grows, there's a lot of times when you have to put in a lot more elbow grease, right?
Absolutely.
To get it done.
Absolutely.
Under certain circumstances where maybe you have a lot of orders and you just don't, you have to get through those orders. Yes, in the
Yeah.
future you see that you might need to hire some more
Yeah.
people, but you don't have that as an option right now.
Yeah.
You have to get
I
through
have
that
to get
moment
it done.
right now.
Absolutely. Because the thing is, I at the time I was hand making every single piece by myself. So it was
Right.
It was really difficult. Grateful, but difficult.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, if you could have coffee with anyone in the jewelry or fashion industry, alive or past, who would it be and why?
So, I would have to say Kendra Scott. Her story is very similar to. Her story is very relatable, and to see how she's built a multi-billion-dollar company off of selling jewelry is just incredible. She is an inspiration to a lot of women. So I would say, like, I'd love to sit down with her and just, you know, not even really to pick her brain, but just to share a moment with her, you know, because she is an inspiration. And, you know, at the time she was a single mom with kids, and, you know, she was going from door to door trying to sell something that she made. And, you know, she really turned it into a massive business. And sometimes, you know, just walking through her stores, it's like, wow, if you could see it, you could achieve it, you know, and this is her, you know. So I think she's a badass. Yeah.
I think that that's a great kind of parallel, I think, to where your brand is going. And it's interesting that that's who you've chosen, because I feel like the jewelry has some sort of parallels on some ways.
Yeah.
So that makes
Yeah.
sense to me. I
Yeah.
like that as a...
Because she's like homegrown, you
Yeah,
know, and then
yeah.
I would assume she would have gotten investors in, but it's always, you know, in the Caribbean, there's nobody really doing the scale what I'm trying to achieve. So it's hard, like, who do you ask questions to?
Right.
How do you get guidance? So everything has really been organic, and I'm really fortunate that, you know, I have a lot of friends who are businesswomen, businessmen. I have friends who are lawyers, so they always, you know, they kind of guide me. But it's always interesting to find out from the person themselves, like, you know, like, wow, how the hell did you do this, you know? So I would say she's my number one. Yeah.
That's great. That's an amazing answer. So that's, you couldn't have answered it any better than that. If you could go back to your 18-year-old self, what piece of advice would you give yourself today?
Not to worry, you know, and to believe in yourself, really. Because at 18, I didn't have anybody to really believe in me. And I did feel very lost. I mean, I started pre-law at 16 years old, and my dad really wanted me to be a lawyer, and it didn't work out, and I was a little lost. I was stuck in St. Lucia. I didn't know what direction I was going in, but every single job that I've had, to be quite honest, I've always tried to be the best. Even if I have to mop the floor, I'm going to mop it the best, you know? So, and I used to really worry. So I would say to myself, just be patient and just believe in yourself. And if you know, when you do believe in yourself, then you give it your all. You give it 200%, because 100% isn't enough. You have to go, you're in it. You have to.
I think that's an excellent answer.
Yeah.
So, no, and it's very true.
Yeah.
Very true and honest answer.
I tell my girls that all the time. I tell them that all the time.
Yeah. Okay, so here's a question that a lot of people find interesting, especially as a jewelry designer.
Okay.
What is one common myth about your job? Something that people think that you do all day long, and that's not really how your life is.
Oh, wow. I think that's a hard question to answer. I don't know if I'm going to answer it right, but I'll try. So, a lot of people think, so there are two things. one, people think that my nails are always nicely done, so I don't make jewelry. So
I like that answer.
right, they're always like, "Oh, your nails. They're. Are you sure you make the jewelry? Do you? I mean, aren't your nails supposed to be black, and aren't you supposed to have like calluses everywhere?" So that's one. But two, I think that because the brand I've gotten the brand to look and exude class and glamour. People think that the job is glamorous. They think that it's a bed of roses. And it's not. There's sleepless nights, the days where I'm crying because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Am I doing the right thing? I have to lead, my team needs to believe in me, and right now I don't believe in myself. Like, what's going? I think we all have those moments. So I would say that people think it's glamorous and it's not, even though my nails are done.
Amazing answer.
Yeah.
Perfectly said.
Okay.
Perfectly said. You couldn't have said it any better. Okay, so this is an interesting question, which I usually ask most guests. I don't know if it really pertains to you in this situation, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
Europe.
Europe, okay.
Yeah.
I guess if you're in the Caribbean, right, you always want to have something that's opposite
but
or
you know
different.
what? Like, Europe in the summertime is so beautiful, and the food, the wines, you could be on the seaside, or you could be in the mountains with, I love that. It's like the Caribbean, but a different culture. And my sister actually got married in Greece a few years ago, and it was one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. I mean, I've lived in the Caribbean. Nothing is more beautiful than the Caribbean. But there was just something about the history, and I just loved it. So I always say to my husband, when we retire, like, could we just get like a little hut somewhere in Greece, and then you just travel around, have fresh seafood, and I mean, we could do that here, but I love the lifestyle there a little better.
I like that answer. I guess maybe it's like, you still have kind of that island feel, but you have that history that maybe you don't have here as much.
And a different culture, different lifestyle, I like it. I love it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see here. What is your favorite piece of jewelry and why? Something that's personal, your personal piece of jewelry.
Okay.
Or it can be a stone. What's your
Okay.
favorite stone?
So my favorite piece of jewelry is actually this ring. And so like my dad was a pilot, and my dad ended up starting up a business with other partners, and he did very well, but then he lost everything. So growing up, it was really tough. There were days where we didn't know where the next meal was coming. But the thing is that you never look at us until, because my mom always believed you must look good. You have to carry yourself. You don't need money to have class, right? Was my mom's thing. So when I started working, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew the type of woman I wanted to be. And so a lot of my friends' parents would buy them jewelry for their birthdays, and I knew my mom couldn't even do that for us. She worked really hard to even get us to stay afloat. So my first job, I did sales for the same company that I retail with now in St. Lucia, Harry Edwards. And my first paycheck, I bought myself this ring. It's a white gold, 14 karat white gold ring with a blue topaz. And I bought it, I was 19 years old, and I still have it. So it is my favorite piece.
And you're wearing it today.
And I wear it every day. I always have it. So it's very rare that you would see me without it. Yeah, but it is my favorite piece. It's sentimental to me.
That's a great story,
Yeah.
and it's very interesting. There's always some sort of story behind the piece.
Yes.
And I think that's a lot of why jewelry is so important to so many people. And
yeah.
why designers have such a following, because it's very personal. When you
Yeah.
buy your jewelry, it's always there's something behind it.
Yeah,
There's always a story.
There is. Yeah, it is my favorite piece.
What was the road less traveled? What would you be doing now if you weren't a jewelry designer?
I would most likely still be doing real estate because that was what I did before I got into jewelry. And I still love it. I love to sell, but I love, it sounds really horrible, but I love meeting new people and I love to make friends. The people trust friends, so people buy from you quicker that way. So I'm more of a relationship-based salesperson. Sounds horrible, but that was my style, and I loved it. I did really well. Actually, when I moved to Barbados, some of my owners who I sold to in St. Lucia would actually still come here to visit me. So I think that's what I would still be doing, maybe just for a different company.
Well, that shows the testament to your sales style. If they've become friends and they still come here to visit you.
Yeah, they become family, really. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
I don't like transactional sales at all. Like,
well, you have to get to know the person,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
And I think when you know the person, it also helps you, it guides you into what you should be guiding them into purchasing, whether it's a piece of jewelry or a piece of real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. So my boss used to be like, Nicole, you have to sell. And I'm like, yeah, but I didn't think that one was for them. He'd be like, oh my God, your heart is too good. And I'd be like, okay, whatever. I used to get so much flack.
I love that question. So this is actually a question sort of for me.
Okay.
So we'll see how it goes here. What's one question you wish that I asked you here today during our interview that I did not ask?
What is one?
And you might not have anything.
Why is the name of your brand spelled differently?
Oh, I like that one. Okay, so now you're going to answer it. You've asked the question, now you're going to answer.
So, I mean, when I started the brand, it was really because I met my husband, and he was in Barbados, I was in St. Lucia, so we had a lot of time. We were on different islands, so I would be home alone quite a bit, and it allowed me to start thinking more creatively. Anyways, I started making these necklaces out of glass beads, very cheap beads, but I loved it. And next thing you know, it would take me like, I would say 45 minutes to make one strand. But I loved it. I loved what I was creating. And so my husband then, he was my boyfriend, but he used to joke around and say, "What's up, NIKKIBIEDES?" And I was like, that's so annoying. I was like, are you trying to make fun of me? He's like, no, I think it's cute. I love what you're doing. And one day I got an order for 45 of those necklaces. And I had no clue how I was gonna make all of them, but I said yes. And I realized I need to brand this. I need to register this name before somebody takes it from me. So my sister's name is Bianca. And a lot of people used to make fun of me for doing it because I was also in real estate and I was quite successful with that. So, but my sister, she didn't care. She really believed in me, and she was like my backbone from the beginning of it, the beginning of my journey. And her name is Bianca, but I call her B, and my dad calls me Nikki, my husband calls me Nikki. So when I decided to create it, I wanted my name to be different from just the regular bead. So I added in my sister's name right behind mine, and then just kept it EDES, EDES, So that's why it's spelled that way.
So it's kind of became a combination from your boyfriend, now husband, and putting
sister.
A little homage to your sister into it as well.
So we're constantly together, no matter where she is in the world or where I am. I'm immersed in this business. It's like my baby. So it's basically like we're together every day. Yeah.
Wonderful. That's great. Well, Nikki, thank you so much for doing this today and joining me. And I've learned so much about you.
Thank you.
I love your story. I love your jewelry.
Thank you.
And yes, this has been wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much for reaching out and allowing me the opportunity. And I hope you had a great time in Barbados.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Wonderful.
If you like that video, you're going to love the next one. It's full of our expertise and tips on diamonds, gemstones, and jewelry, growing your top line revenue, and business strategy. Just click on the link, subscribe, and hit the bell button so that you'll be notified of our next videos, and give us a like. Bye for now.